Australia in the 1930s was a land of contrasts. It was a time when the country was still young, grappling with its identity and place in the world. The echoes of World War I were still fresh, and the nation was in the midst of a transformation, both socially and economically. It was a young nation finding its feet after World War I. Cities were growing and new technologies were beginning to change the way people lived and worked. Yet despite these advancements, much of Australia remained wild and untamed. The outback, vast and unforgiving, whispered tales of hardship and resilience. This immense, arid expanse was both a challenge and a mystery, drawing those with a pioneering spirit. It was a place where only the toughest could survive, and where nature reigned supreme. Farmers battled drought and isolation. They toiled under the relentless sun, their lives dictated by the whims of the weather. The land was harsh, and the work was grueling, but they were determined to carve out a life in this unforgiving environment. But amidst the struggle, there was a pioneering spirit, a determination to tame the wild heart of the continent. These settlers were driven by hope and the promise of a better future. They built communities, supported each other, and faced the challenges head-on. Little did they know, their next battle wouldn't be against the elements, but against an unexpected foe, the emu. These large, flightless birds would soon become a formidable adversary, leading to one of the most unusual conflicts in Australian history. The emu, a flightless bird and Australia's national emblem, is a sight to behold. Towering and majestic, these creatures are surprisingly fast on their feet. In the 1930s, their numbers exploded. Thousands upon thousands descended upon Western Australia's wheat belt. The farmers watched in dismay as their crops, already threatened by drought, were decimated by the hungry hordes. The emus were relentless, their appetite insatiable. Desperate times called for desperate measures. The farmers' pleas for help reached the government. The solution? Send in the army. Yes, you read that right. The Australian government, in all seriousness, declared war on the emus. Armed with Lewis machine guns, Major Meredith and his men were tasked with the seemingly impossible repelling the emu invasion. The war was on, and the world watched with a mixture of amusement and disbelief. Section 4. A Comedy of Errors, Military Style. What followed was a series of engagements that could have been ripped from the pages of a Monty Python sketch. The soldiers, armed with machine guns and a sense of duty, found themselves in a bizarre and almost surreal battle against the emus. Each encounter seemed more absurd than the last, with soldiers often finding themselves outwitted by the large, flightless birds. The emus, with their quick reflexes and surprising agility, turned the battlefield into a scene of comedic chaos. The emus, you see, proved to be frustratingly elusive adversaries. They darted through the fields with ease, disappearing into the bushes before the soldiers could even take aim. It was as if the emus were playing a game of hide-and-seek, always staying one step ahead. They scattered at the first sound of gunfire, their speed and agility rendering the machine guns largely ineffective. The soldiers, despite their best efforts, found it nearly impossible to hit their targets. The emus seemed to have an uncanny ability to dodge the bullets, making the soldiers' task all the more difficult. Newspaper reports from the time are filled with accounts of soldiers chasing after emus, their frustration mounting with each missed shot. The headlines often read like something out of a satirical novel, capturing the sheer absurdity of the situation. The soldiers' determination was unwavering, but the emus' natural instincts and speed made them formidable opponents in this most unusual of wars. Section 5. The Aftermath. Victory for the emus. The Great Emu War, as it came to be known, was a resounding defeat for the Australian army. Despite their best efforts, the soldiers found themselves outmatched by the sheer number and agility of the emus. The emus, it seemed, had won the day. The emus, it seemed, had won the day. These large, flightless birds proved to be surprisingly resilient and resourceful, evading capture and outmaneuvering the military at every turn. The soldiers, armed with outdated weapons and limited resources, were no match for the emus' natural instincts and speed. The war highlighted the absurdity of using military might against a force of nature. It became a symbol of the futility of human efforts to control the natural world through brute force. The soldiers' struggles in the wild, juxtaposed with the emus' effortless navigation of their environment, underscored the mismatch between human technology and nature's adaptability. It served as a reminder that sometimes, the most unconventional problems require even more unconventional solutions. The failure of the military campaign led to a re-evaluation of how to address the emu problem. Farmers and scientists began to explore more creative and sustainable methods to coexist with the emus, such as innovative fencing techniques and habitat management practices. And though the emus triumphed, their victory was a Pyrrhic one. The damage they caused to crops and farmland was significant, leading to economic hardship for many farmers. However, this also sparked a broader conversation about wildlife management and the importance of finding a balance between human activities and the natural world. In the end, the war led to the implementation of more effective emu control measures, ensuring the survival of both farmers and the iconic birds. These measures included better fencing, improved land management practices, and a greater emphasis on coexistence rather than conflict. The Great Emu War, while a defeat for the military, ultimately paved the way for a more harmonious relationship between humans and nature.